I graduated college in May of 2021, and that's about 3 months. And in that 3.5 year time span, starting January 2018 until May of 2021, of me being in college, I've also been fortunate enough to have been working in the real estate industry, more specifically working as a real estate agent since I was 18 of September 2017, 3 months after I graduated high school. And by being exposed to those two environments of working in the business world for myself and having relevant sales experience, being quote unquote a business owner, and also being in an academic institution of being in a classroom, of being in a university, you really get to see the difference in trains of thought and how the academic institutions and the business environments go about solving problems. And really, life is really about solving problems, at least in a capitalistic sense. We're here to solve problems, and as such, we get profit off of it. We get paid, we get a salary, we get a commission, etc. That's why we get jobs in the first place, because we want to get paid, but we only get paid if we solve a problem. Now, life is much harder than the academic institutions, and I'm sure everybody knows that. But why? Why is it harder? It's because in an academic institution, you are confined within a dogmatic way of thinking, a way of thinking that tells you or implicitly teaches you that there is always a solution to a question that is presented to you. You have an exam with 1 to 50 questions, and every single question has an answer. Am I wrong? Every single essay must have an explanation for something that is being questioned by the teacher. Every math problem has a formula. But that isn't the case with life, and more often than not, the answer would probably lean towards I don't know as opposed to I do know in the real world. And that's the part that makes it complicated with the real life as opposed to an academic institution, is that in academic institutions, the game that you're playing is a six-sided dice where you know the probabilities of the answer. But when you're stepping into life, life has an infinite-sided dice, an unprobabilistic or unforeseeable probability of something happening. You can't calculate what your odds are because you don't know what the odds are even in the first place. You don't know how many factors are weighing into your decisions. And this is where the whole concept of unpredictability, chaos, the great unknown steps in and confuses a lot of people. You don't know the answer. You can only say with a certain amount of certainty that you know something or think something is right. And that's where most of the decisions are made in the business world. You don't really know what's going on, but you got to take some risks. And that's where the academic institutions don't really explore, is risk taking. Life is hard, college is easy, but life is hard because you are taking risks that aren't very calculable like it is in an academic institution. If I were to run my own academy, I would have kids play chess, but also poker. Because in poker, you could make all the right decisions with the information that you have in front of you, but you still might make the wrong decision, or at least have a bad outcome from that decision. And that's kind of what I've experienced in working 3 years for myself in the real estate industry, albeit it's a very short time in the grand scheme of life, but the intensity of which I've worked in those 3 years has given me a great set of experiences that have distinguished me from all the other people who have just gone to school. And I again consider myself very fortunate to have those set of experiences to understand myself, understand my decision-making abilities, and to, work on skills that aren't worked on inside an academic institution. Again, life is easy, life is hard, and school is pretty darn easy. I would even go so far as to say that my college experience, my studies in college were way easier than in high school. Some of you might agree with that. It's because in college, for most people, outside of people who are going to medical school, law school, maybe another institution after the bachelor's degree, for most people, the grades don't really matter. It's what they learn inside the span of 1 to 4 years of being in college that really matters, because what you learn in those 4 years will propel you for what happens outside of that after those 4 years. And it's pretty unfortunate when you see people who are so invested in an academic institution come out of it with irrelevant skills that are not marketable to employers who are looking for independent, critical thinkers, people who can solve problems properly, and rather people who can make the right decisions with the set of information that they got in front of them, the incomplete set of information. This is more of just an observation of an academic institution versus a real life environment, but I would think twice about the value of a college education if you are just going to school and not working. I do think that the best thing to do for most people would be to do both at the same time, because you're learning from both worlds. But if you were to choose one, I would probably go with the working experience as opposed to a college education. It's because in those 4 years of, confining yourself to a dogmatic way of thinking, you're not exposing yourself to the real way of thinking that exists outside of an academic institution. And again, you can always educate yourself by reading tons of books. Those will probably fill the gaps for those who don't go to the academic institutions but are exposed to the real life business environments. So it's more of just a rant, an observation, but if you find value in this, I do appreciate you staying to watch the entire video. If you have any suggestions for what I should make, videos, topics, things that I can discuss, just leave them in the comments below. I always like entertaining the thought of comparing experiences of college and the working world, and basically how us 20-year-olds can optimize the first few years of our 20s to make sure that we propel ourselves for, an optimal future. Hope the video helps. Subscribe, do the thing, and I'll see you on the next video.